So we've spoken about the Soviet Union, from its inception, and now we're coming to the end. And previously, we've discussed Gorbachev's regime in terms of the political changes that he made, in terms of the economic policies that he implemented, and the results. And so now we're going to look at the fruition of those things. When he comes to power in 85, he puts into action some things that will help lead to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. So the learning objectives, basically, just to understand the events that lead to the collapse of the Soviet Union, and to analyze the reasons for the collapse of the Soviet Union. So consider social, political, economic. So all of the things that we have been discussing in terms of the Soviet Union, from Stalin to Khrushchev to Brezhnev to Gorbachev, a lot of Chevs. What brings us to the point that the Soviet Union can no longer continue? One of the most important and significant political stroke social developments within the Soviet Union is that of growing nationalism. Now, keep in mind and remember that the Soviet Union, even though it wasn't labeled as such, it is essentially an empire. And if we look at this map, we can see what the Soviet Empire looked like. And we have a large number of republics within the Soviet Union. There are 14. Now, y'all, I think I counted that just right. You may want to check just in case, numbers. And so within this empire, you have a large number of people who have a national identity and an ethnic identity that differs from Moscow and Russia. And this is going to grow and destabilize the Soviet Union. Nationalism begins to emerge as a cohesive force under Brezhnev. Now, with the death of Stalin, and then you have the Khrushchev thaw, the government is really no longer able to go back to totalitarianism and forcibly crush and completely repress nationalism. And now there is more space, I guess, within civil society for it to develop, for people to speak with each other. And we really see it start emerging as a force in the Baltics. Remember, the Baltic states did not voluntarily become communists. They were threatened, essentially gunboat diplomacy, near the beginning of the Second World War. And they were forced to become part of the Soviet Union. And they had fully celebrated their independence as states after World War I. And so the agitation starts there. You have also the influence of Poland. The thing is that solidarity as a movement begins in Poland, and they're able to win quite a few concessions from the state before it's suppressed. And there's agitation, but it never really goes away. And so solidarity as a movement in Poland sort of inspires other people as well. And solidarity in Poland was based very much on Poland and Poland's independence as a state. And then in the Central Asian republics, these are largely Muslim, and they feel that the people in Moscow do not understand their situation culturally, and they don't appreciate the decisions that are being made. They need something that more reflects them culturally. Now, keep in mind, again, that nationalism that is stirring in the Central Asian republics, quite a lot of it is rooted in Islam, in their religion. And communists, as you well know, are pretty a-religious. And this fear, again, is one of the things that causes the Brezhnev to become involved in Afghanistan. With Gorbachev's reforms, you start having increased calls for greater autonomy. All of these states are now asking for space to be able to make their own decisions, to not have everything directed from Moscow. And Gorbachev creates this political space and allows for these free elections so that people have a choice of candidate rather than what is determined by the Communist Party. Well, the thing is that Gorbachev was like, well, he thought people would want to elect reformers, people that would fix the situation. Yes, they did elect reformers, but these were nationalist reformers. These guys were not worried about fixing the whole Soviet issue. They were very much focused on changing the issue for their own state. And you know, basically, keep this in mind when we see how it all goes down, y'all. Before we move on and start really looking at the the end, we have to stop and talk about Boris Yeltsin. Now, Boris Yeltsin is important to all of this because from 1991 to 99, he is the president of the Soviet Union, and he is instrumental to the breakdown of Gorbachev's regime and the end of the Soviet Union. Yeltsin was originally a supporter of Gorbachev when Gorbachev came in, wanting to reform the system and get rid of like the corruption and graft. Yeltsin was also there with him and reform-minded. And as such, he was promoted to the head of the Moscow Communist Party in 1986. Because Moscow is the capital of Russia, Moscow is the capital of the Soviet Union, this is a pretty powerful position within the hierarchy. And he develops this populist image as if he is a man of the people. He is a rebel. He is not one of the hidebound, tradition-bound members of the Communist Party. He speaks for the people. And under Perestroika, he moves to the left, and that means to the left of Gorbachev. So eventually he becomes one of those dudes who is heavily criticizing the policies of Gorbachev. And he questioned the perks of the Communist Party officials. Again, part of that reform, part of that looking at the corruption within the party. Once he's moved to the left and started criticizing Gorbachev, he criticizes the slow pace of Perestroika. Basically, he is one of those people who's saying that whatever Gorbachev is doing, the policies that he's doing to reform the economy are not enough. He really wanted to move the Soviet economy from that of a socialist one towards a market-oriented one. And he also criticizes Gorbachev's power. Not just Gorbachev as an individual, but also the power of the General Secretary of the Communist Party. The power that this General Secretary has not only within party affairs, but also within the whole Soviet Union. And the deference that this position receives. In October 1987, he is humiliated and fired from his post. But it doesn't matter because he quit first. And then they were like, you can't quit, you're fired. And he apparently, there's all kinds of drama. He tried to kill himself, and Gorbachev was like, you get your half-dead self out of bed and come and stand in front of this Communist Party. And then there was basically a struggle session, and everybody's like, Yeltsin, you suck. And then Yeltsin was like, I quit this mo. And then he became like the total rebel. At the 19th conference, he apologized for his behavior and is able to basically get political office again. Now, he's not really becoming a party towing the line member, essentially what he does is he comes back from his demotion, and instead of moseying his way upward through the communist hierarchy, he develops this nationalist image, a Russian nationalist image. And this is very, very important because he is not talking about the Soviet Union. Now he's thinking that Russia needs to go her own way because Russia is being stifled by the rest of the states. And he is a democratic reformer. And he wins the Moscow seats in the CPD elections in 1989. So now, within this new governmental system, this new political system that Gorbachev has created, Yeltsin is able to get in there and in a pretty powerful position. He has a very large platform from which he can speak, and now he is an official part of the government. And this is one of the things with Gorbachev's reformation of the political party and allowing people to participate and elect whoever they want. This means that it reduces the power of the general secretary to crush, to limit opposition. And he is elected as the Speaker of the People's Congress of the Russian Soviet of the Federal Socialist Republic. So now he has a seat in the CPD, that is the organization that governs the entire Soviet Union, but he also has a very important position in the Russian Soviet. All right. Now keep in mind, again, remember, Soviet Union, Russia, different. And in June 1991, he is elected the first president of Russia. All right. And we'll see how all of that unfolds. Dun, dun, dun.